Um, I am going to read Geese by Laurell K. Hamilton from Strange Candy, if you can see that. It's backwards there, but yeah, that's it. I'm probably not going to read the whole thing because it's a little too long for that, but let's see how far I get before my throat goes out, my voice. Okay. The geese lay in the long shadows of afternoon, gray lumps with rustling feathers and flapping wings. I dozed, long neck tucked backward, black bill buried in my feathers. I watched the other geese through black button eyes. Soon I closed my eyes and gave myself to the peace of the flock. Perhaps I had been a goose for too long. Perhaps it was time to become human again, but the desire was hazy. I was no longer sure why I wanted to be human. I could not quite remember the reason I had hidden myself among the geese. I realized I was losing my human identity, but it had borne so much pain. This was better. There was food, the freedom of wings, the open sky, and the comfort of the flock. I did not remember humanity as being so simple, so peaceful, so restful. I had lost the desire to be human, and that should have frightened me. That it did not was a bad sign. Beside me, head nearly lost in the feathers of his back, was Gildan. That was not his real name, but a human name I had given him. One of the last things to leave was this need to name things. It was a very human trait. In my own mind, I still called myself Alatir. As long as you have a name, you are still human. Gildan was a young gander, but he had been with me for 2 seasons. He was a handsome bird, jet black, cloud gray, buff white, all markings distinct and artificial in their perfectness. He had chosen me as his mate, but I offered only companionship. I was still human enough not to wish to bear goslings. He had stayed with me, though there were other females who would have taken him. We had spent long summers on empty lakes, claiming our territory but never going to nest. If I did that, I would never be human again. The thought came that I wanted to be human, someday, but not today. The children came then, peasant children with their dark hair and eyes. They came from a prosperous household, for they fed us scraps of vegetables and bread. They had almost tamed us. Almost. The oldest was a girl of about 14, her black hair in 2 thick braids around a slender face. The next oldest was a boy of perhaps 11. The rest were all sizes, with laughing brown eyes and gentle hands. I had flown over their father's mill many times. I had watched them help their mother in the garden and play tag in front of their house. They came earlier by human standards, for the days were growing autumn short. By geese standards, the sun was in the same place. The bread was day-old, crisp, and good. I remembered other bread, formed in curves and sculpted for feast days. Gildan did not press me to share my bits of bread. He sensed my mood and knew my temper was short. There was a sound of horses riding along the wind. All of us craned our necks to hear, to see danger. The oldest girl noticed it and asked us, "What's wrong?" as if we could speak. We thundered skyward as the horses rode out beside the lake. The children were still stunned by our beating wings, afraid. The girl recovered and screamed, "Run, hide." The children scattered like wild things. The girl was cut off by one prancing horse, and the oldest boy would not leave her. I circled back, Gildan beside me. I settled at a safe distance and listened. It took magic for me to hear them, and I found the knowledge to stretch my senses came easily. The men wore the livery of the Baron Madoc, a white bull on a background of silver, a sword through its heart. I knew Lord Madoc well. Human memories tore through my mind, blood running between my mother's dead eyes, my father's chest ripped open, so much blood. I had been but newly made a master of sorcery when Madoc slaughtered my family and took over our lands. 5 years ago I had been a child, though a powerful one. Lord Madoc had mocked me when I challenged him to a duel. He had let me live and put a geas on me, a geas to kill him, thinking that it would surely mean my death. Having a geas-ridden child seek the death of a powerful sorcerer amused him. So I had hidden myself in a form that the geas could not touch. My human mind whirred through my animal body. I remembered. One soldier had placed the girl across his saddlebow. Our Lord will be pleased with this. He slapped her buttocks. She was crying. The boy said, "Let go of my sister." Another soldier swooped down on him and carried him, struggling, to the front of his saddle. He said, "There are those at court who like a bit of little boy. You can come along if you like." I could not let this happen. I could not stop it as a bird. I hid myself in some reeds. Gildan felt the magic begin. He hissed, but did not leave me. Human form was cold. I found myself crying for the family I had forgotten. I huddled in the reeds, in the mud. My skin was pale, my black hair waist-long. I know my eyes were blue, the pale color of spring skies. I could pass for a lord's bastard daughter just as easily as a true aristocrat. Peasant blood was peasant blood to some. Gildan touched my shivering skin with his firm beak. He croaked softly at me, and I touched his feathered head. If I live, I will be back to say a proper goodbye, I promise. I walked up the sloping bank toward the soldiers. He followed me on his thick webbed feet, but he stopped before I reached the men. He launched skyward in a thrust of feathers and fear. Well, there's still, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 or 8 pages left, but that's it for now. That's enough.